Welcome back to the den. I'm Tobin, and in this video, I want to continue a series where we take a look at some of the products on the market today that we all use that expose us to hidden risks that some of us might not be aware of. In my previous video in this series, we took a look at Barbasol, Gillette Foamy, and shaving creams of the sort, and the dangers they expose us to. In this video, I want to focus in on antiperspirants, and I'll have more videos to come where we talk about some of the common products that men and women are using on the market today that jeopardize our health. We don't have to use dangerous metals or minerals or chemicals for antiperspirant, for sweating. In products like Old Spice, products like Degree, you'll find on the label antiperspirant. And that works by clogging the pores. And there's 4 different types of aluminum that are commonly used. And all 4 of them expose us to a high cancer risk and even a high risk of Alzheimer's and many other things that come along with it. Reproductive harm, fertility. It's just, the list is really, really long of the dangers that these things put us into. The 4 main types of bad aluminum that is used in antiperspirants are aluminum chloride. The 4 bad aluminums are aluminum chloride, aluminum chloride, aluminum zirconium, and aluminum hydroxybromide. Looking at these, both of these, the active ingredient, because you have listed active on a lot of products today, right? And then you also have inactive. So the active ingredient, what's plugging your pores, clogging your pores, and making it so that you don't sweat. In these 2 here is aluminum zirconium. Here on the screen, you can see what I'm looking at with the Old Spice. The active ingredient, as I said, is aluminum zirconium, and then there's another hard word there and it's tetrachlorogex. GLY, I guess that's glycol, and is at 15% antiperspirant. So you have 15% of this is that aluminum zirconium. In the Degree, these are just 2 examples. In the Degree, we also find the aluminum zirconium, but this is at 18.2%. So this is a little stronger when it comes to the active ingredient. And then from there, I'll just go over just super briefly, take a look at this. All these crazy ingredients that you can't pronounce. And remember how I talked about in the Barbasol video, how anything with like a number, you probably don't want to be using. Same is true here, guys. The American Cancer Association, the ACA, they say that there's a low risk of cancer associated with these aluminums. Like we discovered in my last video, the Barbasol video, what the American government or American entities say is often disputed by the European Commission. The European Commission says that these aluminum products under concentrations of 6.25% in solids, 6.25, we have 15 and 18, 3rd grade math skills, that's almost 3, that is, so just call it 3 times, that's 3 times the safe limit according to the European Commission. In sprays, it can be up to 10.6%. I guess they're thinking some of it gets lost. I don't know. Either way, it doesn't sound good to me, because as we just discussed, we have 15 and 18, and the European Commission is saying that it's safe under 6.2 and 10.6, respectively. If you've ever had skin issues, you can benefit greatly, just skin issues alone, okay? You can benefit greatly by switching to a natural deodorant. A recent study published by the National Library of Medicine, or the NLM, which is a branch of the National Institutes of Health, showed that antiperspirants, these 4 aluminums, have a clear negative effect on the human microbiome. What's a human microbiome? Here's a human microbiome. And remember, I'll have multiple links in the description. And I've once again have used the EWG as well as others, which you'll see. So what is the biome? I got a picture there. You've been looking at it, right? It's the natural occurring microbes that keep our skin healthy. Bacteria, viruses, they've always been there, and they keep our immune system strong. You know, our skin is the biggest organ we have, bigger than the heart, bigger than anything. Toxins that are found in these also include things like parabens, and just like with the aluminum, they bioaccumulate. That's the word they use. Bioaccumulate in fat tissue. So where some of the scary comes in is that this 6% in solids, this 10% in sprays, not only are the parabens absorbed, but the aluminum is absorbed also. So you can end up with concentrations much higher. I was actually looking at a couple of different studies that they were doing on children and on even teenagers. And they were doing it by testing their urine. And they would subject the kids, well, they wouldn't subject the kids. The parents were, it's just part of their natural life, right? But in these test studies, they would have the children using the products like they normally would. And then they'd test the parabens and the aluminums that were in their urine. And we're talking high, like it was like 40% in some cases. Other cases, though, was well over this 6.2 and this 10.6. And then they'd have these parents, you know, withdraw those products that their children had been using. You know, the parents are already giving them to them, just like we do our kids, right? You're like, here, have some, you know, antiperspirant. Here, have some this, that, right? Toothpaste. We talked about toothpaste, right? We're going to get into that too. And so as soon as they start cutting these kids back over just a couple of weeks period, their body starts detoxing. Very much like think like a drug addict or an alcoholic. Nicotine, caffeine, withdrawals, right? There's no withdrawals, I'm not saying that, but it slowly goes down, and that's because the body is storing it, which is kind of scary, because like we said, 6%, European Commission says, is dangerous. I'm going to say it again. You don't have to use chemicals, metals, or dangerous minerals to smell pleasant and not be a stinky boy by the end of the day. So let's talk about healthy alternatives. Now, when we go into these natural deodorants, and they're natural, there will be a transition time. Your body's going to detox, like I was just talking about, and your body's going to have to adjust. I was trying to figure it out. It was either 3 or 4 years ago. I'm leaning towards closer to 4 that I made the switch. Excuse me. And I first made the switch with Tom's. And then that led me to a company's products that I was already using, and that's Phoenix Artisan Accoutrements. I use their shave soaps and a whole bunch of other stuff, right? If you've seen any of my videos, you've seen me use the products from Phoenix. They're out of Arizona, and where they actually work out of is Casa Grande. It's a suburb. It's just like, I think it's south of Phoenix. Before I get into natural deodorants, human healthcare, human cosmetics and beauty care has been transforming for hundreds, if not thousands of years. We can go back to the ancient Egyptians and see that they were doing different things, and many of those things were deadly. We can even look at some of the royals in Western Europe and the things that they were doing, like Queen Elizabeth, poisoning themselves by trying to look good and smell good. I'm going to show you a commercial from 1976, I believe it is. Larry Zonka. Dude was a lean, mean football machine. He was a little before my time. I started watching football in about 1984. So by the time I was watching, he was just one of those legends that everybody talked about. I never actually got to see him play. But he was a football personality, though, throughout the 80s and into the early 90s, and somebody that people continue to talk about. Played for the Miami Dolphins. I'm going to play you that commercial, and we'll see how back then the things that they were focused on compared to the things that they were focused on that we, you, me, should be focused on today.
A poem about deodorants. Roll, roll the roll-on, all sticky and wet. Or spray your underarm. What a fog you'll get. So give me the stick, Old Spice deodorant stick. It goes right to the spot. All wet or foggy it's not. It guards against odor the whole day long. With Old Spice freshness, you cannot go wrong. So goodbye roll-on, so long spray. Old Spice stick, it's the only way.
Old Spice stick.
What did you think of that? Roll, roll, roll on, all sticky and wet. 1970s. They were focused on more of the feel of it. And, and of course, what was working and what wasn't working. But what they were looking at was different. If you've seen my Shave Chaser parody, that was an homage to Skin Bracer by Menon, the aftershave. I like cornball comedy, and nostalgia, and shaving stuff. And so I had an idea one day to do a parody of it, and I parodied it, and you can find it. I'll try and get it to attach right here, but if nothing else, in case you haven't seen it, I'll put it in the description. And after I did that, I was like, well, while I was making it, I had ideas to parody other videos. And so here's a parody of Larry Zonka and the Old Spice commercial, Tobin style. And we'll just you'll see. A poem about deodorants. On this unshaven occasion, a safe haven for perspiration. It is chemicals I shun, not too technical when I am done. No fanfare cancer receives, nor Alzheimer's disease. I aspire to not perspire. As safely as possible is my desire. With cold spices from Phoenix, I wager I'll have more of nature and face less danger. From the deepest recesses of my dark, blackened, fragile heart, I want to apologize to you for that. Some things cannot be unseen, and I should have used better judgment. So anyways, now that I've changed your life forever, let's talk about natural deodorants. So aluminum-free deodorants, by definition, are aluminum-free. Something we want to look for with these products, these natural deodorants, and of course, these unnatural. That's a very good way of putting it, unnatural. We want to keep an eye out for alcohol. We want no alcohol, no aluminum, 0 parabens. That stuff's nasty, man. No propylene glycol, no propylene glycol, and no triclosan. None. Triclosan. You can find that in gum and toothpaste, all kinds of stuff. Triclosan and parabens are bad stuff. Bad Jojo Mojo. However, something to be aware of, okay? And so these deos, they can have astringents like alcohol, but alcohol is not the only astringent that you're going to find. And the problem with that is that they kill some of the healthy bacteria that we need that is a part of our microbiome. Over time, a couple of things happen. One, we produce more sweat, but what's really happening, the bigger problem is that some of the bad viruses and other things have the opportunity to survive where the good bacteria doesn't. And so what some of the studies show is that it creates a bigger problem, because Now you like have these free range bad stuff and not as much of the good stuff. So there's like a pro and a con, right? It's like rolling the dice. When we have these astringents in natural deodorants, one of the things that we run into that can not only happen besides sweat, but rash and irritations. I mean, after all, it's alcohol. Briefly, let's talk about parabens. What is a paraben? A paraben is an artificial chemical. It's a preservative in pharmaceutical, cosmetics, and in food industry. There's 4 types of parabens, all artificial. The EWG, that's the Environmental Working Group that we talked a little bit about in the Barbasol video. There's links there, and I'll put links to the EWG in my description for this video as well. The EWG gives an overall rating to these 4 parabens as a 7, an 8, a 7, and an 8. Scientific studies show that parabens disrupt human hormones. From that, we get a whole bunch of problems, not just cancer, a long list of cancers that it can cause, but it's also going to harm fertility in men and in women. So again, gentlemen, we were talking about some of the destruction that goes on last week with the Barbasol video. Some of the same things are going to go on here. Look into this. Just a couple of days is not dangerous, but it's one of those things, just like anything, that if we use it long enough, sooner or later it's going to catch up with us. And by the time you're as old as me, we should be figuring these things out and making better choices. And that's what I've been trying to do. And I still got a lot of things to work on. So we're going to increase the chance of cancer. And one of the things about parabens that a lot of these companies don't want you to know, it's destroying the environment. Like bad. Look up parabens and the effects on the environment, and you'll see what I mean. Avoid parabens at all costs. In any product, it's not worth it. Another thing I want to talk about that we mentioned a second ago is triclosan. Triclosan is an antibacterial agent used in cleaning products, like household cleaners, because it kills everything that comes into contact with. Very similar to, think, bleach. It's not bleach. It's triclosan. The EWG gives triclosan a score of 7. It's in a lot of products. Avoid triclosan. So with these natural deos, guys, what we've done is we've toxified and polluted our bodies for years. And it will literally, this is just me saying this, although I experienced this when I went through it, the detox period. There's going to be a week or two that you're thinking, hey, this isn't really, working as well. It's not going to work as well. Your body's going through some serious changes because these things are doing some serious damage to your body. And the industries have done a good job of keeping it under wraps. It works cheaply, and people buy it because it works. One thing that, dirty little secrets that they like to keep, and it's been going on forever, even going back to the atomic age in the 40s and the 50s, when the American government, global governments, tried to convince the people that, hey, there's no radiation, there's no fallout from this bomb testing. Your children's teeth are falling out. It's not us. They've been feeding us these kind of lies forever. That's the reason, and we all know it. Not going to get into that in this video. I think that's enough that I've gotten into it. So you will have to detox. It's going to take a couple of weeks. One thing you can do is, if you're a wet shaver, you probably already have some. This is the one I like to use for this purpose. Potassium alum. It's safe. It's a natural ingredient. It's a salt. I'll put more information about it here for those who aren't aware. I know most of the wet shavers, most people who watch this do. I like this stick from Omega. I have the bricks that I use for my face. This here I use strictly for my armpits. You don't have to use it after the shower, but what you want to do though is get it a little wet, and then just like deodorant, rub it on. Rub it on anywhere you might sweat. anywhere, okay? Anywhere you might sweat during the day, you can apply this. Just be careful with the screen door. You know what I mean? Vern? So, wet it. Give it a couple of minutes. Then, come along with your natural deodorant. This is going to create a barrier, antibacterial barrier that's going to help you greatly. I really don't use this a whole lot anymore. When I was first transitioning, I used it more. Anymore, I use it down below before I go to work, after I get out of the shower. I really don't use it up here anymore. And I only use it when my body's clean. So let's talk about the product that I use. There's a lot of great brands out there today. Just keep an eye on the ingredients that are listed. What works for me is the products from Phoenix Artisan Accoutrements. One, because they make amazing stuff and they use the best ingredients. Two, they come in a large assortment, like 40 different fragrances or 30 different fragrances. I'll put the ones that I currently own. There's 2, 4, 6, 7, 8. I have like 8 different fragrances. Cold Spices is just one of them. One of my favorites is Speakeasy. And so I have the deodorant, and then I have the perfume and, the solid cologne. And so I'm able to, full on not have any competition for fragrance. I'm just wearing one fragrance. Some days I like to do that. Other days I don't. Other days I mix it up. But, I'll shave with Speakeasy deodorant, Speakeasy solid, Speakeasy perfume, and I'm going. I like to match up my stuff. Even if you don't like to match up your stuff, you can mix and match and get all kinds of crazy stuff going on. So now, let's talk about the ingredients that are found in Phoenix Artisan Accoutrement deodorants. I'm not an affiliate. I'm not getting paid for this. I will make nothing from this. I believe in the products at PAA, Phoenix Artisan Accoutrements, and it's as simple as that. And I consider the one owner, Douglas, for those who don't know, it's a small mom and pop company out of Arizona, like we just talked about, Douglas and Francis. I speak with Douglas. Other than that, I have no dog in the fight whatsoever and nothing to gain at all. In order listed on the ingredient label, let's break these down real quick. This is all this information I gathered from my own studies. I did not ask Douglas or Francis why these ingredients are in their product. I did not ask them that. This is all from me searching. I used the first ingredient, coconut oil. I typed into Google, why is coconut oil used in natural deodorant? It has mild antibacterial properties. Second ingredient, beeswax, is moisturizing and helps keep the form of the deodorant. Cocoa butter, a natural antioxidant. It's also a natural preservative. It can also help make a deo thicker and firmer. And remember, this is all from my own research. Douglas might tell you he's using it for a different reason. I don't know, but he's always accessible. And you can always email him or reach out to him on Messenger, Instagram, whatever, and ask him for yourself. I'm not a paid spokesman. Arrowroot powder is a starchy thickener. It's also an absorbent. So it's gonna your sweat, right? You're gonna contain it into one place. And it has also been known to draw out toxins and impurities. Continuing in order, next we find shea butter. It's a natural antibacterial. It helps eliminate the bacteria that builds up under our arms that can cause odor and pimples. It is also a moisturizer and helps to reduce inflammation. Next on the list, sodium bicarbonate. That's a fancy word for baking soda. Baking soda. It's so fancy that I can't even say it. Fancy pants. So baking soda, a lot of us are familiar with it. It's a pH neutralizer. It is used to neutralize the acid in sweat and eliminate underarm bacteria, thereby preventing body odor from forming in the first place. And you may already know this because of like Arm & Hammer that you put in the fridge. It's an absorbent. It absorbs odors, it absorbs moisture. It takes my breath away. Zinc oxide is a natural mineral, an antimicrobial. When we sweat, the natural bacteria on our skin begin to multiply. What zinc oxide does is it eliminates odor causing bacteria by minimizing the growth of new bacteria. So it stops new bacteria from forming. That's cool. Second, we find cornstarch. That one's pretty straightforward. Cornstarch is a natural sweat absorbing ingredient. Kaolin clay absorbs moisture and it draws oil to it. It's clay, right? It lifts impurities from the skin and helps preserve the deo. It's pretty cool. Next, we find avocado oil. Avocado is a superfood and it's used in a lot of products today, and it does a lot of stuff. Avocados are pretty cool and expensive these days. Antifungal, antibacterial, it won't clog pores. It's great for the skin, full of fatty acids, vitamins A, C, D, and E, and it's also been known to increase collagen production, which is another huge skin benefit. So next we find aloe vera powder. A lot of us are probably familiar with aloe. Your mom may have used the actual aloe plant and rubbed it on you with a sunburn or some other type of wound, or even aloe lotion or in just straight up olive or aloe oil. It helps heal the skin, inflammation, redness, eczema, psoriasis. Aloe is another one of those plants that is super cool. And sometimes I wonder with things like avocados, bananas, aloe, no bananas in this. Just an example. One of the cool things though is like I sometimes can't help but wonder what other secrets these things might hold that we haven't discovered yet. But aloe is good stuff, Maynard. So that brings us back to potassium alum. That's this stuff here that I was talking about a minute ago that you can use before using this. You don't have to anymore. I don't use it except for down here. But you will find this stuff, and it's a rock. It's exactly what it is. It's like salt. Think salt. It's a mineral. It's compressed into form, and then a lot of times it's sold in bricks. But this is found in natural deodorants. It prevents bacteria responsible for odors from multiplying, just like that other product. It's an antimicrobial, a topical astringent, an antiseptic for wounds, acne, and a toner to tighten pores. In China, and on some ingredients, depending on where you're buying this natural deodorant from or whatever you end up choosing to buy, you might see it listed as Ming Fan. That's what it's called in Chinese medicine. And so what it does is it sits on the surface of the skin and it creates a natural barrier. Aluminum chloride, which is found in the bad stuff. Aluminum chloride, bad. Potassium alum, good. Aluminum chloride has much smaller molecules than the potassium alum. Potassium alum, big molecules. Aluminum chloride, little molecules. So what that means is that bad alum, the sodium aluminum chloride, the aluminum chloride is absorbed into the body and creates those problems that we were talking about a few minutes ago. But the alum is bigger, and study after study shows that the body does not absorb the potassium alum. It's too big. Okay? I think that's super cool in a lot of ways. So it's a natural way of getting this garbage without the extreme health risks. That stuff is It's extreme. Extreme! In short, these antiperspirants alone probably aren't going to kill you, but it's a part of the bigger picture, a portrait that I'm trying to create for my YouTube channel that shows us that one product alone isn't so bad. But it's when we start using all these products together that we really start creating a huge health risk, and at the same time, consequently, an environmental risk, because all of these chemicals are bad for you and bad for the earth. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me on my Instagram. If you have any questions about the PAA deodorant, reach out to Douglas via email. I'll have those links in the description as well. Again, I don't get paid for any of this. There's no percentage, there's no nothing. I'm going to be sharing with you guys products that I use, that I believe in. If you're using something else, I'd love to know about it. Like I said, I've used several different products. I was just talking with a friend, Carlos, today. He really likes the product that Razor Rock puts out. I haven't tried that yet, but I'm going to, it's on my list, and he actually said he's going to mail it to me. Don't mail it to me, man. I'll get some. You're too generous, my brother. So I hope this helps. I hope I've done it in such a way that it makes sense. And once again, I want to say, don't take my word for it. Take a look at these ingredient labels that you already have in your house. Google them. Don't go with just one resource. Find as many resources as you can. I like to look for 3 to 5 different places. If you have any questions on what resources, or whatever, if you have any other insight, I'd love to hear it. I think that about wraps it up, about covers it all. I hope you all have a great, fantastic day. One thing I forgot to mention, Lacoste. This one here is a great example of alcohol. The very first ingredient is denatured alcohol. I'll put that there real quick. And with that, this is, there's no antiperspirant in this, but there is other stuff in it that you don't want to be messing with. But I forgot about it. So do your homework. Look into it, guys. You don't have to make all the changes at once. Do them gradually. That's what I've been doing. There's still more changes I need to do. I mentioned that in my last video. It's a transitionary thing. Just do one thing at a time. If you're using Barbasol, cut that out. If you're not using Barbasol, look to something else. But like I said before, the only people who are going to look out for your well-being is you and your mama. And outside of that, thank you for watching. And remember, it really is the little big things. Get out there and enjoy autumn. And thank you for watching. I almost forgot. There's one thing I wanted to share. I've heard one person say, and then I also read someone else mention in a forum once. I haven't seen anyone say it in a while, but some people, for them, I don't know why, they say that natural deodorants are harder, firmer than these. And I had one guy that I was talking with who said it pulled his hairs out. I'm not sure what was going on. I discussed with him and, asked him to keep it at room temperature, and he said that he did, but that was pulling out his hairs, and it seemed too hard. One thing I've noticed is that it is a little firmer when you first get it, but it softens up super quick, because remember, when you're getting it, it's pretty fresh. It hasn't sat in a warehouse for 6 months or, 6 years, because it's so full of preservatives that it can. It's pretty darn fresh when you're buying a lot of these natural deodorants, especially from Phoenix Artisan, and that's what we're talking about. In my opinion, this is just as soft and probably softer. And one thing I want to show you is this particular fragrance was discontinued a while back. And when I knew it was being discontinued, it's one of my favorite fragrances. I stocked up on it. I bought extra EDP, extra shave stuff, and I also bought extra deodorant. I have 2 more new ones. I've already used, I think, 1 from that purchase. I've been using this one for several years now. Not this particular one, but this fragrance. I'm pretty conservative, so when I start getting low on these, I actually scoop them, and then I'll use my fingers to put them on my pits, and then whatever's left over on my fingers, I'll just rub on my chest or on my Buddha belly. So I want to show you, though, how soft this is. So, real easy to scoop it out of there. And then now, in between, did I show that well enough? Just scoop it out of there. Okay, probably didn't do it that well again that time. But look here, this is so malleable and soft. It's like butter. It's not firm, it's not hard. It is very, very soft. I love it. I've never had a problem with it pulling hairs or anything like that. And I just wanted to touch on that real quick. That yours may be firmer when you first open it, but it's not going to stay that way. It won't. Keep it at room temperature and you're going to be just fine. Don't worry about anything you read. Natural deodorants are not going to rip your hair out. I promise. And if it does, let me know. I'd love to hear and discuss it. Educate me. All right, now for real. Thanks again. Have a good one. Real brief. A poem about deodorants. Oh my god.